Good afternoon. Welcome. It's 5:30 p.m. and I'm calling the May 2nd, 2023 meeting of the Historic Site Preservation Board to order. May we please have the roll call?
Yes, Chair Huff,
Present.
Vice Chair Nelson,
Present.
Member Miller,
Present.
Member Hanson,
Present.
Member Rosenau. Sorry, you have a quorum.
Good. May we please have the staff report on the posting of the agenda?
Yes, the agenda for this meeting was posted for public review at the City Hall Bulletin Board on the west side of the City Council chambers and the Planning Department counter in accordance with the city policies.
Good, thank you. Does the board have any revisions to the agenda? Okay. May I please have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay. So a second.
Second.
Okay. So I have a motion by Member Rosenau and a second by Member Miller. Is there any discussion about the agenda or the motion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? So motion passes to 5-0. Okay. So next, this time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Historic Site Preservation Board on agenda items and items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Although the Historic Site Preservation Board values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. There will be 3 minutes assigned for each speaker. Testimony for public hearings are taken at the time of the hearing. So staff, has anyone requested to comment on a non-public hearing or item that's not on today's agenda?
No, we haven't heard from anyone in the public who wishes to comment at this time.
Okay. Seeing no speakers, we'll proceed to the consent agenda, which are the approval of the minutes. Are there any revisions to the minutes of the meeting of April 4th, 2023? Member Hanson?
I actually have a question relating to whether it's correct to say that Member Miller is absent if he joined the meeting a little later. Is that correct to say he's both absent, later, present?
So he came right before this consent calendar.
Right.
Which was the first second vote.
Right, and so the way that we had documented that is I took the roll call and he wasn't there, and then he joined in, and so he added him in as being joining after the consent calendar. But I can confirm just to make sure.
Yeah, I'm just wondering because with the CLG report, we do a report on the attendance of the board members,
right?
So that it wouldn't, if you're just looking at that, it might say anyway. Just a clarification, and then I did have one other question on page 3, about a third the way down, the paragraph that starts motion by Member Hanson. I did recommend in the second recommendation that the city consider working with the architect Hugh Capter on removal of the timber and canvas structure as well as subsequent. But if you all feel like subsequent alterations would include that, then I'm fine. But I did more specifically say on the removal of the structure and any other subsequent alterations.
Well, we can make that revision.
Yep, we can go ahead and make that revision.
That was it for me.
So any other revisions to the minutes of the meeting?
Can we clarify what exactly that revision was? I didn't quite catch that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Do you want
So-
Sarah want to do that?
Sure, I can do that. So the revision request was to add that member Hanson added in for the second portion, the city considering work with the architect Hugh Kapner on the removal of the canvas structure and any subsequent alterations to the building. So we'll
Okay.
add in that section or add in the detail about the canvas structure.
Great. Thank
Okay. Okay, so may I have a motion to approve the minutes of April 4th, 2023 with the revision as previously stated? Motion, please.
I'll move.
Okay,
Second,
so I have a motion by Vice Chair Nelson and a second by Member Hanson. Is there any further discussion on the motion and revision to the minutes? Okay, so no discussion. We'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, all in, motion passes 5-0. Okay. So proceeding with the agenda, there are no public hearings today, nor any unfinished business. So let us proceed to agenda item 4A, new business. And this is to review for potential redesignation of a Class 4 site to a Class 1 or 2 historic resource initiated by an application by Carolyn Dawn requesting approval to demolish the dwelling located at 1150 via Monte Vista. Sarah, may we please have a report?
Yes. Let me pull up the presentation. Oops.
Okay.
Are you seeing that in full screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
All right. So for the record, of course, Sarah Yoon, Historic Preservation Officer for the City of Palm Springs. The application before you this afternoon is an application that is requesting for the full demolition of a Class 4 site at 1150 via Monte Vista, which is located in Old Las Palmas neighborhood. The owner of this property is requesting the removal to demolish the existing structure that has been significantly altered and added onto over the years. The property is located in the R1A residential zone district and the estate residential general plan. The image you see here is the property boundaries, and I believe HSPB all had the opportunity to conduct a site visit towards the end of April before this hearing. This next slide, as you can see, is our photos of what the property looks like today. On site, we saw that there were many iterations of additions that were added on, various changes that included exterior additions, changes to the existing fenestration, new fenestration, the addition of roller security windows and doors, and the footprint of the home has been expanded. It stretches almost the entire length of that property from on an east and west access. So these are a few photos that reflect the current condition of that site.
Mhm.
So going back to the municipal code, according to the preservation ordinance, a request for full demolition of a Class 3 or 4 site does require the HSPB to make the following findings. We have to evaluate the project to see if it qualifies as an exceptional historical significant property and if it has integrity. As outlined in the staff report, which was based on the material that was submitted for the application as well as the site visit, staff was unable to make the findings for this property to be reclassified as a Class 1 or 2 site. And when we were on the site, we also observed that there is not a significant amount of integrity left. The owners of the property are not seeking, the owner of the property is not seeking the designation of this property. And given the analysis and the findings, staff is recommending that HSPB take no further action and direct staff to process the permit for demolition of the existing home. Again, it's an existing single-family home that was dated to be constructed in the late 1930s. So 1937, I think, was the date that was listed on the assessor's page. But the building records clearly show that there were a lot of additions and changes made, particularly in the 1990s. So again, our recommendation is to take no action. And I'm happy to take any questions that the HSPB may have about the staff report for the presentation at this time.
Okay. Does the board have any questions for staff? Anyone? Any questions?
Can you exit the full screen? Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So, so seeing no further questions of staff, may I have a motion, please? A motion. Okay. Unmute. Thank you.
I move that we take no action and let the demolition go.
Okay. And
Madam
Yeah.
Chair, so we do have the applicant architect, the architect on board. He is here to answer any questions that the board may have. I'm not sure if he has anything he would like to add to the staff report presentation.
any comments? Any questions?
I have nothing to add.
Yes. Nothing?
Sorry, I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Wanted to include you if you did want to say something. So you have a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. So we have a motion by Member Rosenau, a second by Member Miller. Is there further discussion about this project or the motion? Okay. Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much for the report and for everyone's.
Sorry, Madam Chair, we're getting feedback from someone's microphone. If we could just mute our microphones, please.
Okay, all right. Is that better? Okay. So thank you all for taking the time to go visit the site to inspect the dwelling and the property, and appreciate because you do need to see those projects we take very seriously in person. So thank you very much. Okay, let us proceed to agenda discussion item 5A. Discussion of the Preservation Matters Symposium. And I just wanted to begin with a couple comments for the record. I wanted to congratulate everyone that was involved in planning our Preservation Matters Symposium. It was very well attended, very well received, and by a very large audience. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to estimate our final numbers very soon to get an estimate for the record, because people did come and go, and it was a great 2-day free event, just fantastic. And our hosts, Ann Rowe and Jade Nelson, did a superb job. They introduced, I think, over 18 sessions that were beautifully detailed, in the program, and all the names of all the participants and all the details. A very handy printed program, with the time schedule. I found that many of our attendees were appreciative of that because they wanted to know when the next session was, or, this and that. So it proved to be very handy and a wonderful documentation for our archives. So thank you for that. Of course, we presented the 2 awards, the Certificate of Recognition to Palm Springs Plaza Theater Foundation Board of Directors. They were delighted. And the Preservation Matters Award to Barbara and Ron Marshall. Although they weren't able to be present, they made a prepared statement that Gary Johns read, and that was delightful. And I'm so pleased that 11 homeowners opened their homes to tours, by attendees. And at each home, we had experts on hand to provide information, answer questions, and all that. So pleased that we have had 3 sponsors for the symposium. We had the City of Palm Springs, Architectural Resources Group, and H3K Home and Design. So that was wonderful to have those sponsors. And I want to thank the event subcommittee, Jade Nelson and Janet Hansen and Dick Burkett, and of course our city staff, which is large, but just to name a few, Ken Lyon and Sarah Yoon and David Newell. And then of course, it's very important to acknowledge and thank Deborah Hovel and her design and production team were outstanding. And, we couldn't have done it without them. So it was a very professional and fabulous symposium that I was proud to be a part of. So, Vice Chair Nelson and Member Hansen, they co-chaired the subcommittee for the symposium. And would you like to make some comments?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair, for that comprehensive overview of everything. I won't spend too long except to say that it was truly my honor and privilege to be the event chair, and it would have been impossible without the help of Catherine and Dick Paquette and of course Janet. And Sarah played a huge role in making sure everything kind of came together. And Todd Buck, IT technician at the city, deserves a huge thanks for everything that he did behind the scenes, and David Newell for doing all of the registration. What was so rewarding for me is that so many people came up and said that they were educated, and that truly the whole point of this thing is to bring new topics to the fore. And people were jazzed about the whole water thing. And I wasn't sure in the beginning how that would go off. And I think that we successfully proved how tourism and water are related to preservation, and that preservation matters when it came to those topics. So I am thrilled that it came off as well as it did. And we have some things that we need to discuss in a post-event meeting, which the subcommittee will do, of course. And we had over 450 registered for the first day. We definitely had about a 15 to 18% either no-show cancellation, which is fine because we were planning on that. But I have still heard through the grapevine that our first day was more well attended than the State of California Preservation Conference the weekend prior. So for me, it was shocking and pretty amazing. The city manager, the new city manager, came up to me personally, as well as Mayor Pro Tem Bernstein, and they were just extremely effusive and complimentary and congratulatory, and they said they just couldn't believe it. So I think all of us really pulled off something, and I think we have a lot to be proud of, that every year we manage to top the previous one, which is no small feat. So next year, someone gotta take that baton and run with it and do something for year 10. But of course, I'm happy to be involved on some level. Thank you all.
Member Hansen.
Well, I don't know how to top that, Chair Huff. And Co-Chair Nelson, that was pretty comprehensive. And just to say, I'm looking forward to the debriefing as well. And, Jade and I were listed as co-chairs, but, this was my first year being involved. And again, I've only been on the board for, I think, just now 2 years. So it's my first year involved with the conference. And so, there's a learning curve for me in a lot of ways. So Jade did much more of the heavy lifting than I did. Let's put it that way. So I just want to give him credit for that. And of course, Catherine and Dick are just, I don't even know what to say about you guys. None of this can happen without, your general community involvement, but all the people that and, just getting everyone on board to even take this on. So huge endeavor, huge, that I had no idea how huge it was, but now I do. So we'll see. But I'm looking forward to a debriefing and, seeing what next year holds.
Member Rosenau.
Just kudos on the entire event. I'm not going to really go into all of what you guys talked about already. Just great job curating, finding a group of lecturers that weren't flown in from other places around the country. They weren't flown from around the world. They were all residents here in Palm Springs. And so we've got a wealth of knowledge to tap into every year. And it's a great job of bringing them all together this year. So I was very impressed. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Member Miller.
Yeah, I would just add that I had a very small role, obviously, just, helping where I could on the registration table and such. And I do appreciate the hard work that I know Jade and Catherine and Janet and Dick Brigette put into this, as well as others. It's a huge task, I know, and I really appreciated it. One comment I would make on the presentations themselves, I thought it was really interesting and valuable to see both lectures and information on the valley as a whole in terms of water use and history of water. And yet there were still the fun sessions with Kathy's husband, Greg, on the swimming pools in Palm Springs, and others as well as him on Palm Springs centric kind of activities in history with our Hollywood connection and such. So that, I think, was a really interesting sort of dichotomy of the bigger picture of the valley and water usage, and then drilling down to Palm Springs' unique history and culture. And that was, I think, a really cool thing to have all in a 2-day session,
Thank you. I do too. Any other comments? Discussion about the Preservation Matters Symposium. Okay, well, I guess we'll have to get working for next year. So that completes today's agenda. And are there any comments from the board? Any comments? We've made quite a few, haven't we? We need a rest, don't we? Staff needs a rest too. Does staff have any comments? Any comments today?
No, not today. I think we could leave it on that high note.
Yeah, super. We'll have to get back to business. Seeing no further discussion or comments, I'd like to call this meeting of the Historic Site Preservation Board to be adjourned to the meeting of Tuesday, June 6th, 2023 at 5:30. So meeting adjourned. Thanks for all participating today. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.